All right, everybody, it's 10 o'clock, and thank you for joining us. This is the third or fourth, I believe the fourth Tech Tip Tuesday that we have done this month. It's the end of our series. We hope to do some more of these here in the future, but thanks for stopping by. My name's Zach Peterson, and I'm with the Training and Communications team here in OIT. And what we're going to cover today is Canvas. Now, if you've missed any of our other webinars that we've done earlier this month, feel free to stop by our website, smu.edu/IT training, and we do have recordings of them, and a recording of this one will also be available in the coming days once we finish up this particular presentation. So today I'm joined by my good friend, Steve Snyder from OIT as well. He is an administrator of the Canvas system. And what we've put together for you today, just for the next half hour, is just a little overview of some of the different parts of Canvas, just the dashboard, the front page of a course, just a few other things that you may not be aware of when you work in Canvas every day. So faculty, you'll be wanting to maybe make a few notes or maybe come back and refer to this video later because there's going to be some nice little tidbits here for you. So also, just before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. So if you do have any questions during this presentation on your webinar software, you should have a Q&A button. And if you click on that, you can send me a question while Steve's presenting. I'll be taking care of those. And if I can't answer them by text to you, we will be sure to let you know, or actually answer some questions if we can at the very end. So we're going to save those for the end. And also feel free to send a chat as well, but for the questions, it's always better if you click on that Q&A button so I have a nice list of them. So, okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to minimize my little title card here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Steve, and we're going to get started with the Canvas dashboard.
Good morning, everyone. We'll just see a few tips and tricks this morning, as he said. Some of them you may know, others you may not. But first, we'll take a look at the dashboard. One thing that a lot of people may not know is you can rearrange these things. You say, and you click on them and get the wrong place. All right, so I want this one to be at the top. I can drag it up here. Or I want this one here. Or I want this one down here. And they'll stay in those positions. The next time you come into Canvas, they'll be in those positions. You see they have a color overlay, and this can be changed at will. Let's see, I want that one to be red, and it's red. Now these color overlays are just, they will appear this way to you. However, another user, a student, they might see this as purple as it was originally. So you don't really know, and you cannot control what other people are seeing in this situation. When you have a photograph like this one here, unfortunately, it has that red hue to it because it has the red overlay. We've asked Canvas to stop that, but they haven't yet. But that would be a useful thing if they would let this be clear. These little pictures are really easy to do, and we'll talk about that much later on in this thing. It's just essentially creating a little GIF image or any kind of little basic file and dropping it into your settings area. Right. There's down here, just below the dashboard, is courses. In courses, you'll see a list of what you will see on the right here in the main panel. But at the bottom, you can see a link called All Courses. When you go to All Courses, it shows you just that. They're all the courses you have. And some of the ones don't have stars, some do. And the ones that have the stars are essentially favorites. So maybe I don't care to see that any longer. Of course, it doesn't get rid of it. It's still available to you. It just doesn't show on your screen. You just want to prune it back and only see certain things that really apply to you right then. Maybe there's some training courses. Yeah,
absolutely.
or some development courses or any number of things. When it comes to just regular courses from the catalog, you will only see the courses for the current term. So other than some of the development courses that you may or may not, that you may have, you will only see 1192 spring 2019 courses in that listing. Okay, so yeah, there's no saving here. You simply just click it and It either is or it isn't. So down at the bottom, past enrollment, you'll likely see a much longer list here than I do. Since I don't teach, I don't have many courses that are past enrollment. These are things from previous terms, like this one. This is from fall 2017, I believe. And I can't click the star. It won't let me do it. But I can still get to the class by clicking on it here. But you can't put it on your dashboard, just to let you know that. So I just printed it back. You see there's only 5 classes now instead of the 8 that we saw just a moment ago. And in fact, I did the one that I was going to use as an example. How about that? So let's go back here and change that. And click that one right there. And bring it back. And there it is. Right. Okay. So we're going to move on from this, go into the course itself. In this course, we're going to take a look at some of these buttons down here. Some of them we'll just ignore because we believe if you've gotten this far in the training, you probably are far enough along that we don't need to go into the details of how to create a discussion or how to create an assignment. But there is a button over here that's been added. It's been here a little while, but most people still miss it. I even forget it's here. The student view. It used to be that you could only find it in settings, but here now it's just straight up right there, and you can see it immediately go into student view. And if you're not familiar with student view, there's a couple of features down here. Student view creates a real live acting student. Is correct. It does work. It will accept submissions. It'll create grades. Anything that a real student can do, it can do. So you'll be able to see what students see. And the reset will take away any grades or submissions that you might have added. Maybe you want to just zero it out again and start clean. Otherwise, if you leave the student view, all the submissions and grades will remain for that student. Okay.
Because I know that really comes in handy with the student view for whenever you want to make sure the links show up correctly and that kind of thing.
Yeah, gee, why is this quiz not showing up? Well, it's got this grayed out. You'll remember, oh yes, that's the reason. Okay, we're going to go down here to settings, skip over a bunch of stuff right there at the top at the moment. The image I was mentioning to you, let's do that with it. If I want to change this image or delete it, if I deleted it, it would just go back to a colored card. But if I wanted to choose an image, all I would need to do is have an image ready and chunk it over here, and it would upload it to it. One thing to be clear of, it works best, absolutely works best, if it's 262 by 146. It doesn't seem to care much about the file type, general, JPEGs, PNGs, and GIFs, they'll work just fine. You can also get things from Flickr, but frankly, if you know exactly where you want to go in Flickr, it works all right. Otherwise, you're going to dig and dig and dig and not find it properly. So just heads up on that. Okay, go back to settings. In January term, and well, actually in a number of terms, there are modules, or maybe in Jan term, there are 4 of them, house and local, and you've got the people out in Plano, and they all have different end times to their courses. And at the moment, the terms would normally say something like January 2019 instead of development. Those terms end based on the date in the catalog for the students. The faculty, you get a much longer period. You get, I think, 3 weeks after before it goes off. But I've had people say, oh my gosh, my course is not ended yet I can't get into it. What do I do? Well, here you simply add a date. Maybe it ends on the 31st, and you want to give them the whole day, so you change it to 11:59 p.m. and go, you're done, but you're not done. Be aware, you must check this box so the students can participate in the course. If you don't do that, it's all for naught. You've got to check that box. Be aware of that. It's real important. So if you find it saying, oh, you can't have an end date for an assignment that far out because it's ended, go in here and change the end date to at least go either, or maybe even past the actual end date of the course, and check that box. And down at the bottom, remember to update the course. And now the students will be able to see it again. It will magically appear to them, and you'll be able to change end dates and things on your assignments or any other dated item. Okay.
I think we wanted to look
down
at
the bottom,
yeah.
there's a thing called more options. It's a really, it's just small type. I wish they'd make it bigger, but it's not. I don't even know why they hide it, honestly, but they do. So in more options, you can let students create their own discussion topics. Maybe in this course, I don't want to. I want to guide them. I want to create my own topics, and I want them to work within those. So I'm going to uncheck that. Do I want students to be able to edit their discussion post? Absolutely. We'll leave that one checked. These are checked by default. Let students organize their own groups. No, I'm going to put them in specific groups. Hide totals in the student grade summary. Actually, I don't know that I don't have all the assignments built. I'm not sure about the weighting, so I don't want the students to see the summary yet because I'm not sure I got I want to make sure that it's calculating properly before I let them see the total end grade for the summary. You can hide the grade distribution graph from the student, where the student stands between the highest and the lowest grade in the class. Some people find that disturbing, so they want to hide it, or any number of reasons. So that's something that's worth checking. And after that, again, choose update. And it goes back to its normal state. So scroll down again, it'll still say more options down here. So if you change your mind, you'll have to click that again and change those options. Okay. In the navigation tab here at the top, we can change what is displayed on the left menu bar. So there's a few things going on here that don't interest me. Class notebook. That's for OneNote from Microsoft, and in this case, I'm not using it. It's a marvelous tool, but in my class, I'm not using it. So I'm going to disable it. And when you disable it, it just drops it down to this bottom part. Anything that's dragged down here is hidden from the students. Okay, and I'm not using MyLab or Mastering because I don't use that textbook. And I don't want to use My Gallery because I'm not using Kaltura. Feedback box, that's a pretty wonderful thing. Leave it there. Quizzes, yes. Thoughts, people, grades, discussion. Is this in the order I want it? Yes, it is. Now, if I decided I did want something down here, maybe I wanted them to be able to see pages, simply drag it back up. Or you can click this and use disable and enable. That's handy because if you have a really long list like this, you'd have to drag and drag and drag, and nobody wants to put that much effort into it. So, and click save. And when we click save, we see that it's changed the order here. Some of them are still grayed out. Students can't see things that are grayed out. That's fine. They're seeing. If it's grayed out and you had brought it to the top and you think, gee, why is it still grayed out? It's because there's nothing there. If there's nothing there, there's no reason for students to see it. So it grays it out. And once you put a quiz in it, it'll come back. It'll turn dark. Okay.
You showed me something really cool earlier. If you have a course with a bunch of links in it and you wanted to check them, especially if you're copying a course, I think that would be coming handy for sure.
In fact, this course is an old course that I copied from. It was just fine a year or two ago, but I've not paid any attention to it, and so I want to know if things are right. It has a lot of links in it. There's a whole page of links that pertain to forestry in that industry. So let's see if they're right. I can click this validate links here on the side. And actually, I had already started it earlier, and it found 12 broken links. So in my course syllabus, I have one. It's called Netiquette. If I were to go into course syllabus, I would see that link, and I could repair it. And there's a number of things. In the final exam, in the question bank, there is something called a big grin. GIF, and apparently I'm using this GIF image in a number of questions. So I'd have to go into those questions and remove it or fix it or ignore it. Depends on if I'm not using these questions, I don't care. I'll just leave them alone. And this is the useful links page, so it has half a dozen links that are wrong in it. So that allows me to find links that are bad for students, see it if it's published and they think, oh, it's not going anywhere. You need to fix these. Should save you a little embarrassment. Make sure it's right. And back to settings now. I wanted to mention something about sections. I'm not going to get too far into it, but one problem people run into with cross-listing sections, let's say you're teaching 2 sections of a course, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a Tuesday, Thursday, but you don't want to maintain 2 sections in Canvas. You can merge them, you can cross-list them here. That's their terminology, cross-listing. And it's really a simple thing to do, and I think that's been covered in other courses, other training sessions. But one thing that a common issue, sometimes people will hear, they'll put in something like, that's the name of the section that I'm teaching, and add the section. Well, the trouble is, that's not what you want. That's a trap. It says add a new section. Of course, it's got an asterisk there, but it doesn't tell you what the asterisk does, what it means. So this will get people in real big trouble because it will do nothing but create an empty section and you can't do anything with it. So it just sits there with a dumb look on its face and you think, oh my God, I can't get this to work. So contact the help desk or contact me or anyone that deals with Canvas around here and we'll get you going. There's also the Canvas guides that you can find here in help. It's real quick to do. And the walkthrough will also show you how to, it'll literally walk you through the steps, and when you're through with it, they'll be cross-listed. Just be aware that that is not what you think it is, because it sounds like it's what you think it is.
Right.
I hate to sound sad, but we run into this a lot. Over from the far right, there's a thing called feature options. And it's funny that they say feature options because some of them aren't options. They're simply turned on and can't be turned off. But there are a few things. And for example, the new gradebook is pretty wonderful. You might want to try it. Just note that if you do try it and you put grades or submissions in, you can't go back. But that's okay. Actually, the new gradebook's pretty wonderful. Frankly, I think it ought to be turned on by default. And at some point in a few weeks, next term, it may be on. The main thing it does that I like is it gives you crosshairs where you see a row for the student that's lit up and a column that's lit up, and it will follow your mouse around as you go from cell to cell, so you know which student you're looking at without having to move your eyes back and forth and hope you're on the right row. Maybe you have a lot of quizzes or a lot of things you have it maximized and you just can't keep up with all of them. It's just not obvious. So these little twirl downs will tell you what things are, or at least give you a little bit of information. May not be terribly clear. That one has a better explanation. Some of them say beta, but frankly, they wouldn't put anything out there that you could use that's dangerous. So don't be afraid to use it if you think it'd be interesting to you. And okay, so we've done that.
All right. Yep.
Apps.
Cool. And so I think we've got a few changes or a few updates in the file section of a course.
Yeah.
That are pretty handy.
In the file section down here, I've hidden it from students for a reason. I want the students to see files in an order that I want to present to them, or I want to present them on a per date basis. I don't want to see them, let them see, key to a quiz before the quiz, which makes a lot of sense. So you want to hide it sometimes, but also within that, of course, you can link to them from anywhere, even though this is hidden. You link to it in another area of the course, like a module or anywhere you might want. There's images in here. I like to keep my images and my documents separate. And so let's see here. We're gonna add one thing here. I'm gonna go back up to the root to the directory, and well, here it is. Okay, this PDF file, they go in there by default as published, which is the green check. Everything's cool, everything's all right. You can click that button and you'll see you have options. You can unpublish it, where it's only visible to you. That may be files that you do not want students ever to see, or at least at the time being, they're just things that you want. In fact, you may have a folder full of files and you don't publish the folder so students can get into it and look at them. They may be quiz keys or other things that you may have that you just don't want them to see, but they're associated with the course. You can also use the cloud with the lock, which is a restricted access. And that allows people to see, students to see the link, see the file only through a link in syllabus or modules or anywhere, but they cannot see it if they go directly to files. You can also schedule through this. You only want students to be able to see it from today through next Thursday. And it will only be visible to students between those two dates, and then it will go dark. Now that's true if they go to files and look for it, or if it's linked anywhere else in the course. That's important to notice. I'm going to put this right back here on publish and update it just because. You can drag files over from your desktop. You can drag individual files. Let's see, I'm going to go to course images, and I'm going to chunk this one out here because, see, you think, oh my gosh, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Right? It's really odd. You have to go up. Make sure you're in that area, and then drop it, and it will appear. I can't explain that, except that it is what it is. Other things, maybe you've got stuff in here you wished you had moved. You wish they were all in some sort of order. For example, if you really had planned to put all of these in course images, you can select them. You can select them and move them up to it and drag them into it like that.
And that's with using the control key on your keyboard.
Yes.
And is it the same on a Mac, Steve? I can't remember.
With the Mac, it's command.
Yeah.
Right. You can also select one and click shift and select all of them. You think, oh, gee, I don't want that one. Whoops. Yeah, look what I've done. Okay, let's leave that.
Might have to scroll up there a little bit, maybe, since we're not full screen.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and go to full screen on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. There. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I hid it from you.
Yeah, sorry about that. If you don't want that one, you can just control click it and it will go away. For example, that one will, and you see that it's gone white when you drag your mouse off of it, but the blue bar has gone too. Another thing that's useful to know, let's say when you want to delete a file, that's great. All you have to do is go over here and delete it, or you can move it or rename it. That's fantastic. However, you think, I imported a bunch of things for a class that I taught last term and not the new ones. I made a mistake and brought in the wrong set. Think, oh my gosh, I've got dozens and dozens of these blasted files. What do? I don't want to have to go click and click and click and click and click. What you can do is pay attention right here. There's nothing there, but when I click on a file, let's say this PDF file here, whoops. If I click on that, then these new items appear. I can view it. I can change the permissions, which we saw a few minutes ago. I can download it. I can move it, or I can trash it. So, okay, I don't want that one. I don't want that one, or this one, because they're the wrong files for the wrong term. And I can go up here and delete them all at once, which saves me lots and lots of time. So that's not obvious. I wished it were more obvious, but it's not. And yeah, so that's that. If I were to drag in a zip file, it will ask me, do I want to expand it or upload it? It may be that it has documents I don't want expanded. I want my students to take it as a packet. Maybe it's data files, things that they may be using for a programming class or data files for a stat class, anything like that. I may simply want to upload it and let them download the package. However, if I want it to be expanded, for example, this one shows a document, it shows a folder, some more documents. It has a number of things in it. It has a directory structure I want to keep. So if I drag it in here and then say expand it, we'll bring it in. It didn't take too long. Ah, there. It brought it in, and there should be a folder in here where it's one called example. So, and within that, you see that it brought in the exact file structure that we had over here in the zip file. So maybe if you have a block of files that you want to bring in and you want the directory structure to be brought in with it, just zip it up and bring it over like that.
Yeah.
So possibly select all and drag it over.
I have done that before where I bring in a zip. Yep.
But not zip. All right.
Well, it'll do a zip and then bring it in, and it'll
Right.
keep all of my folders. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's very handy. So file management is very much like using file management on your desktop, which brings us to Box. Yes, I'm a big fan of Box. If you've not used it, can you explain it briefly?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Box is our cloud storage solution, or one of them. I know we have quite a few. We have OneDrive, and then we also have Box. And Box is my favorite as well because there's unlimited storage. You can have it on mobile devices. You can have it on all kinds of different things where you can have access to your work files. And it also has Canvas integration, as you can see.
And you can share it with people.
Yes.
Maybe you have some folks that let's say you have an admin assistant or someone who you don't want to be a part of the class. You don't want them to be officially a TA or something, but you want them to add a bunch of files to it. Well, you can share that folder in Box through box.com and using the share right here and invite them to share it. And they can just drag files into it from their desktop and not in Canvas at all, but simply in their desktop or through the browser. But when they do that, it will appear here in Canvas, and you can get a hold of those files. And, well, you don't have to even get a hold of them, they simply exist. You can use them within Canvas as if you had them in files. Very similar results. It's almost the same. Another positive is you brought in a Word file, or there's a Word file in one of these folders, and you found a misspelling, or a heading is wrong, or some part of the document is incorrect. You can open that through your desktop and edit it. And since it changes everywhere, it changes in Box, everywhere it's linked in Box changes. So it will make correct in Canvas. And for example, let's say in modules, I want to add a file from Box. I click that. Not an assignment, but it is an external tool. That's one thing you got to remember, or if you did not know, and there's nothing to remember, it's simply look for external tool. And there it is. Choose Box and select from Box. And it's in.
So any of your Box files
Right.
you could link to.
Yes. There's no telling what. We'll just take this PDF file right here. We'll just select that and choose it. And it's ready to go. Click Add Item. And here it is, linked from the Box. It's not published, but I can publish that. Students can see it now. So that's coming in from Box. It would be the same as adding it from files here. You go about the same process. Instead of using add file, you would add external tool and go to Box to do that. So that's kind of a useful thing. I really encourage it. Also, you can use files from year to year without having to copy them from course to course to course and have multiples of it. You have one set that you use repeatedly. Maybe there's a bunch of images or slides or image or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They don't change. They're stable. You put them in Box and your life will be much easier in that case.
Okay. And so I know you had a couple things. I know I know Turnitin is a little easier to use now, or it's a little, they've added a few improvements for if you want to use them in an assignment.
Right, yeah. Used to be that if you use Turnitin, you may recall that it's a little cumbersome, but they changed the interface for it. So let's take a look at that. We'll add an assignment, and we'll call it Cleverly Turnitin. And I'm not going to put in any notes here, but you probably want to put information as to what you want the students to do in the assignment. And we'll give it points. And there's nothing down, you have to look right here. There's nothing here but group assignment between these two. But since it's a file I want people to upload and I want them to run it through Turnitin, you click File Upload. You can restrict the file type if you want just to be .docs, .docx, or PDFs. You can click that and add those to it. But now you see that Plagiarism Review has appeared. We'll choose the tool, Turnitin, and now you see this little list of things already. Frankly, you can take the defaults and be done with it and just click Save at the bottom of this screen, or you can check some of these boxes that if there's some things you need to alter. Maybe you know your students are going to have a lot of bibliography, and those will kick up the similarity numbers because they're the same across the board. Everybody's going to be, I mean, everyone. The times that you'll see an entry in a bibliography for this same item could be hundreds and hundreds of times across the university and the world. So maybe you want to get rid of that stuff so it doesn't artificially crank up the numbers. And you could, these are the things that we'll check through. Student repository, institutional, that means SMU, because we have our own bucket, you might say, and Turnitin land where only SMU things appear. And web content, that's the world, and periodicals and journals. The standard repository is this stuff. If I don't want it to be stored, if this is a draft with no points, and you want students to submit a draft, you don't want it to be submitted to Turnitin, but you do want to see a similarity report, be sure and choose that. If you don't, if you choose standard repository, it will add it to the repository, and the next time the student goes in to truly submit it as an assigned paper, they'll see that it's 100%. It'll check against itself and be 100%, and you'll never be able to determine what's right and what's wrong. So if it's a draft, make sure you choose do not submit. That way you can create another assignment that has that's the real deal. In the past with Turnitin, you'd have end dates and things like that, and if they didn't match here, your life just fell apart. So make sure that's the good thing about that. Okay. We're running a little late.
Yeah, we're running a little short on time, but I did want you to show us one more thing that you showed me that I thought was really cool. Yeah. And it's kind of a more at your own risk thing, right?
Right. It's not a supported thing, but it nearly always works. And I hope people haven't left me rambling here. Oh, no. But if you go to the home page and you see there's the course ID, if you just type in undelete and go, it will show you things that you had deleted inadvertently. So let's say last night you were working late and you weren't thinking clearly and you deleted an assignment or any number of things. You think, oh, how do I get them back? I don't want to rebuild that. I spent all that time on it. But undelete, it's not restore, it's undelete. Then it will list all of these things that can be brought back, and you can click restore and it will put them back where they were. One thing to note with things like discussion topics and assignments, if they're old and they had submissions, maybe it's late in the semester, there's no guarantee that the submissions and the writings that the students have submitted will be there. Canvas claims this is not a supported function, but it's a lifesaver sometimes. So don't panic if you've forgotten something, lost something. Also, if there's something that you can't get back, or just call us, call the people at the help desk, contact us somehow. We will help you out, because we have a test instance and we have a beta instance, which are 3 weeks and 1 week old, and we can bring stuff back from those areas and put them back in your course if this fails.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, yeah, I think that's about all that we had for you today. Sorry we went a little over today, but we had so much cool stuff. We wanted to show it to you. So I don't have any questions right now, but if you did have any questions today, please feel free to let the help desk know. That's at help@smu.edu or 214-768-HELP. That's 4357. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us for all of our Tech Tip Tuesdays this month. We hope to have a few more in the future, and we thank you for joining us. Have a great day.